Hey everyone, I just wanted to give you an update on the recent Neuroscience conference that we ran here at New Trails. We did it at the Eastern Virginia Medical School in Norfolk, Virginia, part of Old Dominion University there, which was amazing to us because it's the first time that we've been asked by the medical establishment, let alone neuroscience people, to actually host and put on a neuroscience conference, which of course is a very, very gratifying recognition of all the neuroscience work we've been doing through movement method, horseboy method and tachyon equine integration over the years. So I just wanted to tell you who was on this conference and what you should do to go check out more of their work, because it was pretty amazing. The first speaker was my son Rowan, who crushed it, and then at the end, after talking about his own progress through this neuroplasticity and neurogenesis of movement method that he benefited from and really helped to mentor and develop through his childhood, he then made me dance silly polka in front of a bunch of doctors and neuroscientists to Weird Al Yankovic, which of course was both embarrassing and brilliant. The next speaker was me, just talking about how the methods evolved. The next speaker after me, Temple Grandin. She obviously needs no introduction. What was lovely was that she then spoke up and said how much movement method was contributing in terms of preparing autistic children and teenagers to go into the workforce, particularly our emphasis on doing jobs, doing tools, using tools, getting ready for the world of employment, getting ready to swim in the neurotypical world while still being authentically autistic. She is very big now on making sure that autistic people don't get left behind in the workforce, and that tech, which hitherto has been to some degree the sanctuary for people on the spectrum, with it the changes coming in artificial intelligence, however there being still a need for real technical jobs, emphasizing that this could be the best place for a lot of people on the spectrum who are young adults to start looking in terms of an employment that is independent of AI. And she was hilarious about going around various hotels and restaurants wherever she goes, because she's in them all the time, noticing how all the elevators are 2 months, 6 months overdue for their servicing, because there's a real dearth of technicians, including the medical school we were giving the conference at. So her point is there's a big gap in the market here, that shop and technical stuff being taken out of high school and this overemphasis on college isn't necessarily serving the young. Good points to make. The next speaker came from the University of California, San Diego, their Neuroscience Institute there. I don't know how many of you have been following our history with neuroscience, but it was University of California, San Diego. They were one of our initial really good supporters, and also who gave us the explanations and insights into why our methods work. Initially, Dr. Robert Navio, who was head of the Mitochondrial Institute, who's just retired, I think, this last year, and also Dr. Alison Moitri, whose lab grows brains in petri dishes, what they call organoids, in order to start looking at gene sequencing there and how genes can be rescued if they seem to be perhaps not optimal. This doesn't mean that they're looking for cures for autism, quite the opposite. However, the neuroscientist who came from that lab to talk at our conference, Dr. Angel Almena Querot, you can look her up, Angel, like angel, Almena. If you type that into the University of California, San Diego, she'll come up. What they're doing is really important work for looking to the future for things like chromosomal conditions such as Fragile X, and Huntington's, Angelman's. There's a whole plethora of these which have hitherto been thought really untreatable. It seems that by growing these organoids, which are effectively miniature parts of the brain, they can grow a bit of the hypothalamus, they can grow a bit of the cortex. It's extraordinary, and they feed them with BDNF. Those of you who know our work know that brain-derived neurotrophic factor is what creates this sort of optimal cognitive function in our methods. They're using this to build these parts of the brain where they can identify genes that could be troublesome and go in and effectively rescue them, which could really create a revolution in addressing some of these absolutely life-altering and sometimes debilitating conditions, such as Angelman's and Huntington's and so on. So this was fascinating stuff, and leaves us all wondering where it will all go in the next 10 to 20 years. And then finally in the morning we had Dr. Stephen Peters, who's a neuroscientist, a neurologist, an ex-neurosurgeon, a horseman and autistic, talking about how he learned to swim in the neurotypical world and giving a lot of insights into how horses in particular really help people on the spectrum to differentiate behaviors, facial expressions and that sort of thing in humans, how this transfers over and how it had helped him effectively rewire his brain to thrive in the neurotypical world while also, of course, remaining authentically himself. It's really worth looking him up. He wrote a very good book called Evidence-Based Horsemanship with, I believe, Martin Black, and they look at exactly what's going on in the horse brain when it's interacting with us. Also, a big takeaway from his talk was how important myelination is in the brain, meaning to stop and do nothing from time to time and just daydream or take naps, to allow myelin, which is the fatty tissue, a bit like an insulating plastic tape around a naked wire, this fatty tissue which binds around new neural connections and neural pathways when we've learned something, that actually we need to pause and do nothing for a while to allow this to really get stronger. So not to exhaust oneself and cramming with knowledge and cramming the workday, that actually the more little pauses one has, really the more effective one will be. This was a really good takeaway. Okay, after lunch we had a panel discussion which was chaired by one of our horseboy movement method geniuses, someone called Alex Northover, who will quite soon be Dr. Alex Northover. She runs Making Momentum in Cheshire in England, which is a fabulous practice. She's also getting her PhD at Manchester Metropolitan University, and Rowan Scub, my son, is in fact a consultant on her study, a paid consultant, helping to advise on better outcomes in equine therapy from the autistic perspective. He's one of a group of consultants on the spectrum for that. So to check out more of that work and Alex Northover, go to her website, Making Momentum. After that, Dr. Bianca Rimbach, who that many of you may know, recently published her PhD on the effects of movement methods in schools in a town called Aalen in Germany, finding not just better academic and behavioral outcomes, but really interesting, better teacher satisfaction, better teacher retention, and less burnout through using movement method. And if you want to see more about that, you can go on our YouTube channel and you'll find Dr. Bianca Rimbach talking about her PhD outcomes there. It's really, really worth a look, particularly if you're school teachers. Speaking of school teachers, the next speaker, Cade Lang. I keep saying the word genius, but these guys really all are. He is a teacher who applies movement method in grade 5 in a school called Evans Elementary in Colorado Springs, District 49, Colorado Springs in the USA. He has found over the years that he can introduce all kinds of really cool economic projects for kids. This is mainstream kids, not just kids on the spectrum. For example, Christmas tree businesses, garden businesses within the classroom that teach the kids how to really prepare themselves for later professional life, as well as the standard academic stuff. And also he's finding that after a certain number of weeks of movement method in a semester, the kids' brains have altered so much for the better that they begin to self-learn and even can be trusted to leave the classroom and go out and work in clusters in other parts of the school. Really extraordinary maturation of the brain and the personality through movement method. And his videos talking about this, again, you can find them on our YouTube channel. That's Cade, C-A-D-E, Lang, L-A-N-G. And he's also on our website, movemyschool.com, talking about his work. After Cade, a couple of people you really need to check out, Henrik and Gitti Berkhoff. They were the people who were really instrumental in getting movement method into the schools in Germany. But also they run an amazing horseboy and takin practice from their farm near Münster in Germany. You can look it up under Berkhoff Green Care Farm. Have a look at them and their story. They, not dissimilar to myself, are parents of a special needs child. They were actually advised to abort Julian, their son, because of his intense spina bifida and other conditions, brain conditions and so forth, that he was born with. Of course, they refused to do this and have made a resounding success, as has Julian himself, who presented alongside his mother and father on their work, which they all now do together at their Green Care Farm. It's a really good lesson in how tribe and family, as well as know-how and perseverance and just open-heartedness, can really result in extraordinary outcomes. Not only are they running these practices on their farm, but they're also a full-blown organic farm in full production that produces seed for the organic industry. They're looking at certain types of rewilding on their farm. They're really at the cutting edge. So go check out Henrik and Gitti Berkhoff, Green Care Farm in Münster. And then finally, David Doyle. If you don't know who David Doyle is, you need to know who David Doyle is. He is the man who, also an autism parent, whose child had a very good reaction to horses. He's the man who has really built the horseboy and movement method scene in Ireland, to the point that the government now gets behind these programs and funds them. His farm, Liskennet Farm in County Limerick, really pioneered this, and he managed to prove to the Irish government that really violent, difficult, high needs service users who required up to 3 or 4 people to be with them at any given time, which of course was costing the government nigh on €1 million per person per year, that this could be brought down really to one person with a much higher quality of life through the use of movement method in particular. And the results are now spreading all over Ireland, and he talks us through that. You should type David Doyle, St. Joseph's Foundation, type him into Google, see what comes up. Okay, that was the lineup, just for all of you to know who these amazing people are. Have a look at their work and let us know in the comments below what you think, and tell us about your work in the comments below too. Maybe you're out there, maybe you're someone that we should be looking at and interviewing. Please contact us, we'd love to hear from you. Till next time, bye.